Hey, welcome. Oh my goodness. On this webinar Wednesday, all my beautiful friends, I know that you are just loving this isolation quarantine time, and we are doing our very best to stay in our distance here. But
Yes.
I had to bring my beautiful friend with me on this journey. It is today's topic, which is called alone. And here I am sitting with, so this extrovert doesn't do alone very well.
I know for all of us that are extrovert, we're just having a little bit of anxiety from being alone. But what a great topic we're going to talk about today, and just, dispel some things and maybe help out a bunch of people that were able to do that.
Well, the great thing is that when I started this, even outlining it out for a year, my tech guy goes, well, go ahead and let's just outline it for a year. And the topic was alone. And how did I even know that the quarantine was even going to be? And then everybody was sitting in their house somewhat of an alone. But
how timely.
Yeah, so we're just going to dissect a couple things. Yeah. And Jessica has some really cool news. Let's just tell them a little bit. We've been friends for 17, 20 years?
Yeah, 20 years plus.
Well, King's 27.
Yeah, so about 23, I believe.
Yeah, because y'all were his
That doesn't
coach.
age us, okay? Just
we still young at heart.
Exactly.
Young at heart. And so that's where it originated from, was soccer.
Right.
And so then we just started developing a very good relationship.
Exactly. We were entrepreneurs, or we are entrepreneurs
Forever,
in our county. And then Sandy became my life coach and
Thank you.
Great friend. And we've had some amazing times together.
Yeah.
Recently got married, and she helped us out with that as well.
Well, what's so cute about them is that, so we both know that we go from a blended families. And so she calls me, she's like, hey, can you help me with this? Like, I need you not just individually, but with my guy. And I'm like, no, well, what guy is this? And so it was just so cool. So then I tried to talk her out of it because
she did.
I didn't want her to, I wanted to give you the full picture of, what it looked like. And when I couldn't talk you out of it, I knew for sure.
Which I appreciated, because your vulnerability and your transparency really helped, because, I was alone for 15 years.
There you go.
And then coming into having kids that were already grown and gone, I call it, to then inheriting another 4, it doesn't feel too alone. But there is alone, and there's a sense of being alone within that too.
And even in a crowd.
Absolutely.
Alone is an inward, not necessarily you can be still filled in a room. I've walked into a room before and I have felt alone.
Absolutely.
And I have gone through seasons when I didn't like myself, that I did not want to be alone, because I didn't want to do some research of why I felt alone.
Exactly.
So even at the end of this, I'm going to give some live coaching tips on how to help in this massive quarantine that we are in for 30. And I just so wish that the President of the United States would say April Fools, because it is
it's
April
another
1st.
30 days. And, we really want to talk to people about that, because it is a time where social distancing, some people are making a joke about it, but at the same time, mentally, physically, it is draining. There's so much stress going on in our lives right now. We just want to be able to help out with that.
Right. And I saw this one ad that it said, if I had to train be the teacher to my children, one would already be expelled, and then the other one would already be
Listen, this was one way to get prayer and spankings back in school right here.
Oh my gosh, that is hilarious. So, in this topic of being alone, she's mentioned that we are both entrepreneurs, and we're constantly thinking of ways to, improve ourselves individually, but also even collectively. How has this affected? Well, first of all, you just announced that you got married.
Yes.
And so you combined them. And so even in all this change,
I mean, it's been so stressful, because we had our ceremony planned and it was supposed to happen this Sunday, and now we've had to cancel everything. We thought we could move it from one state to another, thinking that would help, and then the quarantine got bigger, and it's been a little bit stressful and sad at the same time, but we're all adjusting.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to do. You mentioned kids now being homeschooled. That's a big adjustment. Sandy, I homeschooled my kids for 6 years.
Oh,
and
I
then
had no idea.
When the math got hard,
oh Lord,
I said, okay, you guys take over. But now I find myself with David's son Hunter, who lives
Right.
with us,
Yeah.
and he's in his high school, and I'm having to homeschool this high school with all this technology, and it's like, what? Like,
Well, not just you forget some of the things, and then they've developed this common core or whatever, and then they've learned it one way, and we were taught it another.
exactly. I'm thinking 1 + 1 is 2. I don't know
Can
how
you
you're
make
getting
it
that.
any more complicated.
Exactly.
Good grief.
So,
So I think the whole dynamics of it all is how is this aloneness affected your business, you're a realtor too.
yeah. So, we've had to just do business so different. The
Yeah.
world looks so different. So now we're having to do virtual showings and
That's
virtual
crazy.
open houses. And, we're no longer able to go into the office right now. We have to, and we just got a beautiful building and I have a beautiful new space and can't use it. But, we're adjusting. But one of the biggest things, Sandy, too, was talking about alone is, it's not okay. Now you're socially distanced from your coworkers,
Yeah.
but you're being socially distant from some of your family members as
yeah.
well, too,
Yeah.
because of different ages or
sure.
whatever. And so I think this is so timely for us to talk about being alone, but it's changed the whole
Yeah.
dynamic of everything that we do.
It really is.
Yeah.
So 2 of my grands came in and just such a beautiful diversion.
Sure.
And in that word in itself is that when you are isolated,
Right.
and I have coached continually because I do FaceTime coaching, so that
Sure.
wasn't even new for me, but you have to have a diversion because if you constantly focus on one being alone, there's a depression, which is a press down that causes your inward thoughts to just go rampant.
And you know what I thought was really funny? Like, I've been working from home for years as an entrepreneur. I've just been working at home. But now that you're being told
it's
a whole different dynamic of it, because it's like, well, wait a minute. I can't just go to the store and feel safe. And with that, with the alone and the self-isolation comes this anxiety and fear that sets in, even if you're not a person of fear.
Right.
And stress. So
what do you think that your number one challenge is with being alone?
So for me, like I said, I was really talking about being in the house, but it's a whole different mindset now too. It's like, wait a minute, now I'm being so careful about being around people because one, I don't want to carry it. I don't, want to be that. But at the same time, it's kind of depressing because you feel like you're in these walls and the walls feel like they're enclosing and you're doing all the things, but you're still feeling enclosed and like almost like a caged animal. I don't even know if that makes any kind of sense. But
well, speaking of that, and I don't want to put a reference with that in being in an assisted living, but when my grands came, we had to wave at my mom at a distance and then blow kisses. And I got in the car the other day and I just had to have an emotional moment and I heaved. I did not cry. Because and she's hearing impaired, so it caused me to not be able to help her. And this helper of mankind, a number 2 on that, what is it, Enneagram?
Yeah.
I was like, I can't help her, and she needs me, and Jesus, you know, she's like, I got her, and I'm like, thank you.
You're like,
I know, whole dialogue. I know you do, but I'm her daughter.
Exactly.
So it's so that I had to, have to bring a diversion even to young children, and even to me, and not focus on the fact that she's healthy, focus on the fact that she's whole, that she's safe.
Yeah. And you bring a whole different dynamic because I think that we're not thinking about kids of all ages are really going through this too. They're not even understanding the dynamic of it. Even if you have teenagers, they're not really understanding the effect and this whole thing that has changed our world and how it looks. If they can't even articulate it, you're going to start seeing more emotions come out, more behavioral issues coming out because they're not understanding it. If we ourselves are feeling that way and we can't understand it, how are they supposed to?
Well, what's crazy too is that, society has a way of, when we are anxious, then our children are anxious and they feel every emotion. And yes, they are resilient, but still. So if you're an anxious parent and that anxiety is transferred through your actions, then you've got to an anxious
Absolutely.
child. And so if
Absolutely.
you don't know how to deal with your own anxiety, then how are you going to help your children's anxiety? So that's why I love what I do. Being a
Yeah.
life coach has helped me to be able to help not just one person, but generations.
I agree. And you've helped us. I mean, I personally know for myself, but the other thing is too, I felt like as a realtor, like, what do I have to contribute? I have been so shocked because prior to being a realtor, I was a disability rep for 28 years. So I've had those connections, but seeing, my mindset has been now of coming from a point of contribution as opposed to let me get, because this is not the time for that.
No.
It's been more from a point of contribution and saying, how are you doing? What can we do? Because mentally, we have to have a specific mindset right now for us to make it through this time of being alone.
Well, and two, when we get out of ourselves and get out of our own heads, there's beautiful a release of endorphins that help gratification.
Absolutely.
Just come to fruition, and you seeing someone else. So I've got some helpful hints for us. So
let's talk about those.
Yeah. So let's just look at them. I listen to I'm always a learner. I'm always a student, forever a student. And so I listened to this. Of course, I chose him. His name is Dr. Amen.
I mean,
can I get a witness?
Yes.
Of course, there's a little background here. Anyway, and so he was sharing yesterday some things that help us. And so there are 7 ways that you can help your mental hygiene is what he called it. Not only just physical hygiene, but mental hygiene. And that is, don't always believe what you think.
Absolutely.
Is true.
Firm believer.
So you have to ask yourself, is what I'm thinking true? Okay. So in this scenario of calamity, and I know there's so much out there, what is it, the zombie or
the zombie apocalypse.
I can hardly say that word.
That probably be the only time you see me running faster than anything.
Yeah, and all this. I'm not a fear monger at all. I'm going to always choose faith over fear. I'm going to choose hope over helplessness. That's just the nature of who I am. And so I just really want you as the audience, and as you listen to this webinar, just don't always believe everything you think. And if you could do this internal dialogue and just ask, is this true?
Yes.
Because if it's not true, then, I don't think we need to be thinking about it.
And I really believe that how we start off our day, I know you're not going to work right now. You're probably not going into the office. Maybe you are. And maybe that's a fear factor. Maybe you are an essential worker and you're having to go out there. Maybe you're one of those that are having to stay home. How you start off your day is
it's so
huge.
Vital.
And that's how it's going to set the rest of the day. So you really need, or you should, have some kind of base where you're starting off that morning with something positive or,
Well, I give this, it's just called the first 15. If you take the first 15 minutes,
I love it.
And then just, for some people, they think that this word is more mysterious or mystic, but if you just center yourself, cause your mind to be quiet, that's really hard for me. Because I'm extremely ADD, and sometimes I have to just put my phone down and then my thoughts just start wandering. And I have to reel them back in. So I get you out there, all y'all that are just like me. You're not alone. You're not crazy all by yourself. And so if for the first 5, if you could just quiet your mind, and then the second 5, which is called the first 15, but the second 5, if you could just listen to something that is affirmative, something that brings an awareness of who, my Jesus is my Savior. And so I choose to listen to worship, or I choose to listen to the word, and then the last is I do pray. And so just talk to God about the things and carry that process throughout the day. It kind of helps with getting your mind in tune.
I feel that when I don't have that kind of schedule, because I do the same thing too, and then I add some exercise in there because I want to be able to keep my endorphins going. I feel that when that's off, everything else in my life is off. So,
okay, so let's just reflect on not thinking and of everything in your head is true. And just isolating it. Is this really true? Asking yourself. So the second suggestion, he says, when you're feeling anxious, and we all know this, but it's a good little practice to breathe. Okay. so for people like me, take a pause during the day. Sometimes you put reminders in your phone to pause and just center yourself, or pause to just take a moment of attitude of gratitude, whatever. And so breathing. So he suggested that you just breathe 3 breaths in, like on 3 counts, and then you exhale 6.
Oh.
Yeah,
okay.
so it's more of a, so we were out Thanksgiving and my sweet king goes, Mom, you sigh a lot. And I'm like, yeah, well, I guess what does that say for me? I'm not anxious, but I just have learned this process that if I need to just sigh, it's so they're happy sighs, of course.
Yeah, of course.
They're happy sighs.
So I thought that was really interesting because I had gone to a naturopath doctor one time.
Yeah.
And he literally told me, you don't breathe. And I'm like, what? What do you mean I don't breathe? I'm still alive. He goes,
you can.
You hold your breath. And it made me so self-conscious.
True.
Because I didn't realize that I was so tense with work or whatever was going on in my life that I just didn't breathe properly.
It's true.
And so now I'm pretty conscious about it.
It makes me, I'm very conscious about it. And so, and then when he acknowledged it, I was like, okay, well, I'm practicing what I say. Hey, I've been talking to myself. I'm getting on my own nerves. Okay, so then the third one is to be careful with what you intake.
Yes.
And meaning whether it's sugar or if there's an excessiveness amount of, unfortunately, if there's a prescription drug, don't take extra, or, your alcohol consumption.
Absolutely.
Just be careful with let there be a balance in all things, and be careful with the intake.
Yes.
And then let there be an exhale of, going and taking a walk, getting it when it's beautiful and it's nice outside.
What happens is that people don't realize when you're doing all those things, like even the sugar and the alcohol, it causes this high, right?
Yeah.
But then it causes a drop, but then it also causes some depressive issues because you're feeling like this is what I need to be able to feel better.
Yeah.
But taking that walk or taking that moment to listen to music, hey, have a dance party in your house. I am known for having dance parties in my house all of myself. I don't care what I look like. It doesn't matter.
You go,
it just gives me a few minutes to just get out of reality for just a second and breathe in life.
Right. Put Zumba on. I coached this girl the other day and she's like, oh, I just got done from my Zumba class and it was online and she was sweaty and it was great. And I was like, don't you feel so much better? So, just getting out of yourself. It's just take that initial step. So watch what you intake and break up with your refrigerator. Break up, just distance yourself.
Yes.
Put it in a timeout. Do you really need that extra cookie?
I actually heard something about 15 something during this whole COVID thing. Don't buy into that. Keep healthy, because something about people gaining 15 pounds during this time. Divorce your refrigerator.
Right.
Get that workout in. There's plenty of places that you can get that in. Get a workout. Go out for a walk. Get out on your balcony. Take some breath air. Fresh breath air.
It's really good. Yeah. It's just a helpful reminder too. Okay, so we're going to carry on here. So in this time, just have a time to just refocus on your purpose. So this is a beautiful time to just look inward and see, there, like I said earlier, there was a time that I didn't like myself. And this is a time, I remember when you and I were kind of walking through that together.
Yeah, same.
And I asked you, would you want to date yourself?
Oh, that was the toughest question she ever asked me, because I literally had to be honest and say, not really. I wouldn't want to date myself.
So if you ask yourself that question, then what is it about yourself that you would choose to change? And if you can change it, change it. If you can't, then, let that go, because you can't control that you're 4'11"?
No, 4'11" without my heels on.
If you wear your stilettos, you can change that. But as far as there's certain things about ourselves, but if it's character wise, or if it's things, I just didn't like myself. I just didn't like who I was.
What's really funny is that everybody saw us. And I'll put us, but for me, saw us as this person, but we didn't see ourselves as that person.
Right.
So remember during this time alone, because I've had this question too. It's like, how do we date? I was already alone to begin with. And now this is even worse. 15.
15, yeah.
But, people are asking me, like, what did you do? What happened? And for me, before all this happened, I really had to refocus on one, what was my spiritual purpose, because
Right.
that's who I am.
Right.
And two, what was my physical purpose as far as job or anything
Right.
else, but what was my personal purpose? Like, what did I want my life to look like? And I had to learn to love myself.
That's true.
So wherever you're at and you're alone, right now, and you're feeling alone, this is a perfect time for you to really look inward and work on those things that you might like or don't like.
Well, and this is what I suggest too is, and Dr. Caroline Leaf, I don't know if you've ever read any of her things, but there's like a 21-day detox. And I really would suggest that if you are interested in wondering your why do I feel depressed? Why do I feel so anxious? Why do I feel so alone? What is your why? And then you analyze your why. It's so revealing.
I'm so big on the whys. When we started coaching, I had just started because I was like, I'm giving up on dating. I'm giving up on all this stuff. I'm just going to focus on things. That's
usually when the guy comes is when you give up.
See that? So 30 days, I dated myself.
She did. I said, date yourself for 30 days. Treat yourself like you would want to be treated. And so what did you do?
I did it. And 30 days, I treated myself. And, it changed my whole perspective.
Yeah.
And
I remember you bought yourself flowers.
I did. I would write myself little notes. You're beautiful. Yeah, because everything I wanted somebody else to tell me, I did for myself. So during this time when you feel alone, I really feel like you should. What are those hobbies that you let go of? What are those things that you used to enjoy doing that you feel you don't have time for? Now is the perfect time for you guys to take some of that back.
I think it is too. Just to refocus on what too is important.
Right.
Because okay, I'm cleaning up my closet because we're downsizing.
Right.
This is a personal confession. I did like to buy, I'm going to change this about myself, but yeah, I found 3 of the same thing in different colors. And so I was telling Rick, I was like, yeah, that's bad. And he said, well, I knew you used to do that with shoes. I had 2 pairs of the shoes. No, too many shoes of the same kind of different colors.
There might be a little bit of conviction going on here.
It was
as
rough.
We speak.
It was rough. No, I've decluttered, and
I'm talking about for myself.
Oh. Okay, well, don't embrace that part. So it's time for what is really important.
Right?
Is that really important when there's people out there who have lost their job?
Yes.
So I'm trying to help other people too, even in that.
And I heard something that somebody told me. Like the other night, my family and I got together on Zoom and we did a whole worship time. We were just singing and talking to each other. Other families have told me that they're playing bingo online.
Connected.
Stay connected. Do not get yourself so socially isolated.
Yeah.
Social media is a wonderful thing when used in the proper form. This is one of the times to use it in proper form.
I really do believe that it will help if you just, technology is our friend.
Absolutely.
And use it for a positive. There is, like she said, negative, but use it for a positive. Okay, so we're going to go on. Okay, ask yourself, what can I control in this season? What can I control in the next 30 days? And what I can't control, you just let that go, because I can't control that I can't see my mom. I can't control that all my children are out of town and that I can't be with them. I can't control anything about that. So I'm just worrying myself, which I'm not a worrier, but I'm so concerned about that when I can't even control that.
I'm in the same boat. I have a son that lives in New York, right in the heart of it. So I've been concerned with that.
Sure,
not worried, not anxiety, because I trust a big God.
Right.
But, there is some concern with that. And I'm going to be honest with you. I was crying for a couple of weeks because I had planned this wedding. I've waited 15 years to have the wedding.
You're going to wear that dress.
And I said yes to the dress and the whole thing. And it was important for our kids to be involved in that ceremony. There is nothing I can do about that right now.
Right.
So we went in and got our license, and that's good, and all that good stuff we've started, because we're not going to just stop the process.
Right. No.
And then we'll have
to go on.
Yeah. And we'll have the ceremony later.
Yeah.
We'll do that later. But if you can't control what's happening now, stop
Let
giving yourself some anxiety and just let it go.
Yeah, get your power back, because you can't do anything
now I want to
about
sing
it.
that Frozen song.
Yeah, I know. I won't. I was coaching yesterday, and a friend of mine, I kept saying to her, knowledge, this whole word of knowledge is power is really not true.
No.
Because knowledge is power only when applied.
Well, knowledge can cause some anxiety too.
Which, if you keep the TV on, if you don't I understand knowledge, and I think that's great. I think I want
Yeah.
wisdom. I want wisdom. But if it's not applied properly,
Yes.
or even connected to the power source,
Right.
and it's just sitting there, it's not going to work for you. So even these little helpful hints, we can give them to you, but if you don't apply them, it doesn't matter. We've been talking for way too long for you.
I'm going to talk to you entrepreneurs really quick.
Okay, do it.
You have a business that you feel right now is like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? This is happening. This is happening. Let me tell you something. The best thing that you can possibly do is continue to be intentional.
Right.
Be intentional, and the very same thing that you were doing before this whole thing happened is the very same thing that you're going to keep doing, because that's what's going to keep your business afloat.
Yeah.
Okay. Not without hardship. I get it. Okay.
That's life.
But be intentional.
Well, even capsize on the moment of what can I do in this down season? What can I do? Read books, get it more creative, listen to podcasts, paint, do some things that maybe could even benefit for after this, because there is an after this. There is an after this. It's just, what are we going to learn in the middle? They always say it's hell in the hallway. Well, it's hell in the hallway.
Absolutely.
It's horrible in the hallway, but there is an open door at the end of this. And this is kind of where we're going. Let me end with this. What are you learning about yourself in this season? Because we teach what we know.
Right.
We reproduce who we are.
Right.
So if you don't know who you are, or if you don't have an understanding of, and you're panicking, or you don't have, for me, I have hope because I have a Savior, and I know you are the same belief system. If you don't have a hope, I would sure love to introduce you to the one who can give you hope. If you need someone to talk to, I would love for you to look me up, sandykramer.tv. Let's coach together and let's walk through together, because you don't have to go through life alone.
No.
You don't. You can choose to go through life alone, but it will always be a sadder time.
Absolutely.
It's easier when you know that you can call
Stronger
me.
Together. I mean, that's a tagline, that word together. So stronger together. And you might be thinking, I'm strong. I've got it all together. I don't need a life coach. Let me tell you something. I did too. Okay. But what it does is it gives you a different perspective. And she's a great person. She didn't tell me to say that or anything.
Thank you.
Honestly, the different perspective of somebody else that's not in your situation is of value.
Well, and looking at things objectively.
Yes.
And, there were some times when I didn't necessarily always take your side. And,
no.
And I was like, yeah, let's look at it from his perspective, or let's look at it from a different perspective.
She actually stood up to me.
Oh my gosh, you are adorable. So let's just end with this in our closing remarks. I just know that this too shall pass.
Yes.
And today is called the present, because it is a gift. We have a gift of today. And how do you choose to use your gift called the present? And just do this for me, if you will. Find somehow the blessing, or be a blessing in the burden, because everybody is going through something.
Absolutely.
I can assure you, it doesn't mean just because I'm a life coach that I don't have everything all together. I just coach myself, and I have mentors as well. So everybody needs someone speaking into them. And so let me just encourage you today. I just thank you. She does have my mom's house on the market. Thank you, Jessica.
You're welcome.
Praying that it sells.
Yes.
She is a beautiful realtor. She is her work ethic and her ability to just see things from that perspective is my gift. And I just want to say thank you.
Oh,
and thank you for being brave to staying 6. I think we're 6 feet.
We're staying 6 feet apart.
I kind of get a little closer, but
it's all good.
I pray that you have a blessed day,
as well,
and that you just hope. Keep hope.
Yes.
Not helplessness. And if you do feel helplessness, let's walk together.
Absolutely.
You don't have to be alone. Let's be strong together.
Yes.
Thank you, friends. Have a good day.
Did great.
I thought that was fabulous.
Was amazing.
Okay, so
you need to blast can you share that YouTube video everywhere that you have your social media?